Hi everyone, Nathan here. I just want to make a quick production note to say that this episode was actually recorded back in April of 2019 with every intention of being edited and released soon thereafter. But then I started a new job and it totally changed the time I had in my life. And it always nagged on me that I never finished doing this. I always felt bad about it, so I decided to here on furlough in quarantine to go ahead and finish this episode better late than never. So some of the information is a little out of date, but I think it's still funny. I think it's still fun. And as a little treat to our listeners, all 5 of you, there's going to be a fun little blooper reel thing at the end. So stay tuned for that. Enjoy. Thanks. Revival Survival is recorded in front of a live studio audience. Let's get down to business to defeat.
Oh God, is that our new theme song?
Connors.
Oh.
I just was thinking about that. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Revival Survival. I'm your host, Nathan Grayjack.
And I'm your host, Eric Zajac.
Today's episode is going to be on Roseanne and the Connors.
Good work.
So this is kind of a unique one because they had like 2 revivals in the span of the same year. They had their revival and then another spin-off revival immediately after, and obviously there's a lot of reasons for that we're going to get into very shortly. Just a little background on the franchise. Obviously, Roseanne was a major show in the 90s. Started in the late 80s, I think.
Yep, 89. And
then through the 90s, lasting 9 seasons, although it seems like 8 seasons are only canon at this point.
Yeah, I was going to say. I think it's 8.
They're ignoring the 9th season as canon in the new revivals.
What doesn't kill us is making us stronger.
That's fine. Then there's the revival season 10 that came out, and then the Connors spinoff, which is really just a season 11 minus the main character Roseanne,
Yep.
the titular character. It was a show. It was a revival that really no one was asking for, but we got it anyway.
Yeah, it's one of those shows where they could have left it right where it was, and it would have been mysterious, and people would have hated it. But as soon as you get what you want, everybody hates it.
Yeah, and there are definitely some fandoms that are asking for revivals of certain things, and they get them. Sometimes they don't. But I never heard anyone asking for a Roseanne revival. And it's just like, we're in a culture where everything needs to get a revival, so they got one.
Yeah.
Even though
I'd sit there and think, man, it'd be cool if there's another season of Roseanne, just because the way they ended it was so sad and, heartbreaking to me. I was just like, maybe if there was one more. But then when I got it, I was like, I don't really want it.
Yeah, but the way it ended actually was it tied things up.
It did,
It revealed things that had been going on, none of which obviously are being followed now in the new seasons.
No.
I remember when I first heard about the season 10, the revival season, I thought to myself, okay, so Dan's dead. Roseanne's gone off the deep end in the last few years, the actor herself. Like, what's this season even going to be about?
Right.
And they say, oh, we're going to ignore certain things. Dan's back alive. We're going to ignore all the stuff. And from what I can tell, obviously, since they won the lottery in season 9 and they were super rich, like all of that just totally ignored.
Gone. Yeah.
So you just don't. Anything that happened in that season, can't even think of that as real.
Right.
The revival season starts off, trying to make it as almost as if no time has passed. The house is still exactly the same as it was in the old show, in the original run. The same Afghan, the same jar of pickled eggs on the shelf. I mean, they really took great pains to make it exactly the same. Just everyone's now, many years older.
Many years older.
And even though at first I was really rolling my eyes at the idea of it, I really went into it with an open mind. I obviously grew up a huge fan of Roseanne. I mean, to the point where sometimes I joke that sometimes I forget memories that I have. I can't remember if they were my memories or if they happened on the show, because I watched it as I was growing up. Just a few years younger than DJ, and sometimes I think to myself, like, did that happen to me or did that happen to him?
Right.
Like, it's so like enmeshed in my childhood, and I related to it so much growing up, and the things that my family was going through sometimes.
Yeah.
That I honestly, it's like a part of my history. I feel like I'm part of the Connor family sometimes. Right. So although I kind of rolled my eyes at the idea of it, I was excited to see more from that family. And then we got the news that, then Roseanne was going to be a Trump supporter, and there's going to be all this tension and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, geez, I hope this doesn't just fuck it up.
Right.
I hope this doesn't ruin it. Especially because in the original series, it was always such a progressive show.
Right.
They always tackled cutting edge issues head on. They went through
bankruptcy, I mean, they were always a low income. That was the whole point of the show being successful, I think, is they were a low income family. They didn't have a lot. They related to a lot of people in our country at the time.
Right.
After the recession of the 80s. So because it was fundamentally different than, let's say, Charles in Charge or Cheers or anything else that was on at that time. It was literally, they don't have a lot of money. They're trying to live as a family, and they're trying to stay together as a family. And I think that related to a lot of people.
Absolutely. You know? And what I'm saying, though, beyond all that, even, they took on social issues.
Oh, yeah.
That show was the first time I ever heard of gay people.
Yeah.
Like, it was literally my first introduction to the idea of that. And they handled it with in a way that was unheard of at that time on television. It really wasn't. I mean, there were multiple gay characters who are shown to be normal people, shown very favorably.
Right.
And I really appreciate that. They took on bigotry. They took on, abortion. They took on all these issues at the time and had a pretty progressive lens for it. So to see Roseanne become like a big time Trump supporter, really only because the actress became a Trump supporter, because she's rich, she's privileged, and she completely disconnected with
completely
with the character of Roseanne and how she would be thinking about things. It's really unfortunate. I actually read once somewhere that the reason they made season 9 so different was because Roseanne was starting to feel like she wasn't connecting with the blue collar viewers anymore, and she needed to do something different just to have one more season, because she felt like she wasn't able to even write to the audience anymore,
right?
Because she'd grown so disconnected from it.
And that's because right when they what I think made the show good was the fact that they always had hardship. Always.
Yeah.
There was always something going on that they had hardship, and most of the time it was money or family issues. But when they got the restaurant and they were being successful, and there was never any other talk of money. We don't have money anymore. It was 2 seasons or whatever of them being stable.
Yeah.
And it started to go, when they had the lunchbox, and it just started to go down, because the story was always supposed to be that they were struggling. And finally, oh my God, now we have money. What do we do?
You know? I mean, they didn't have a lot of money.
They didn't, no. But it was just the fact that now it was, again, people get upset with The Walking Dead because now there's a lot of humans in it that are fighting the people.
Oh, really?
But it's less and less about the zombie hordes. So it's like, why am I watching this? The whole reason I started watching this was for that reason. It related not necessarily to people now, but that's what made it good, And I think that's the same thing with Roseanne. That mentality of having to struggle and survive in the United States, of capitalism, is a big part of that show. Yeah. And for me, that's kind of it's still funny. It still had funny parts, but it just wasn't the same. So.
Yeah, I always kind of liked the small business stuff, I guess. They also had the bike shop and stuff. Yeah. I liked seeing how they're always hustling. They're always finding some way to survive.
Right.
Dan wasn't doing drywall and he was fixing bikes, and he was doing this on the side, and Roseanne had a million odd jobs, and while also raising the family. That's something I saw my parents do and still do to this day. Keep trying to maintain their living.
That's what made it good is the fact that they had to do that. But when they got the lunchbox, I felt like they never did that. There was never the trying to get around things and swindle. And one of the most memorable things for me was when they had the bike shop and they were trying to do their taxes, and they're just like, oh, we spent that already, and it was just like, we've already done all of that. We don't have any money to give you, to pay you, the accountant for what he did. And it was just like, Bulldog.
Whatever he was in that show.
Yeah. So I just love that. And it just, all the stories started to turn to other things. It was never, I don't know, it was just never the same.
I guess I remember it differently. I saw them looking to cut some corners, and remember struggling with the competition across the street. They got that waffle bar, and they were trying to push that. And I don't know.
And they did, but again, it was never. It was just about that was about competition. Yeah. So it was never about money. I guess in my mind, I'm just saying. But then, if I may, jump to season 10.
Let's do it.
And you were talking about the whole disconnect. And yes, Roseanne was a Trump supporter for whatever reason, but I feel like when they made this season season 10, it was like season 9 never happened, which is okay, I guess, because it really didn't make a difference. But then her character's so different.
Yes.
Not accepting of Muslim neighbors. Mm-hmm. She was
Ugh.
always open. She wanted to meet the neighbors. She always did that. The
Yeah.
extra step for them, unless they were jerks. But it still, it lost all of that sense of, whatever. Not only that, but like the drug crisis. Like, her and Dan splitting their pills together because, and then she's supporting a person that doesn't want us to have universal health care, and they're complaining about having not enough money for pills.
Exactly.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
There's a disconnect there.
Yeah.
Like, I love that scene when they're trying to figure out the pills out. It was relatable.
Yes, it was.
I know my parents at this point, they take a lot of pills and they carry their big trays around. So
Yep.
seeing that scene right away, I was like, oh, that's like a really relatable thing. And then for her to be like, oh, but Trump, I was like,
Yeah.
what? And even then, that episode came out. It was like a year after the election,
Right.
And they're still milking this like Trump versus Hillary thing, with Jackie coming in with her pink hat and all this stuff. And I was like, one thing I loved about Roseanne is I can watch it today, and it still is just as relevant as it was in the 90s
Right.
or whatever. And I feel like that type of storyline just does not hold up well
At all.
And I was really disappointed to see that, like, I want to say current event, but it wasn't even current. It was like a year old at that point.
It was, yeah.
And they're playing it as their very first episode. It was really really disappointing. And so I watched that, and I know throughout this series, Revival Survival, I mentioned I'll be getting to Roseanne when it comes out. I can't wait to do Roseanne.
Yeah.
And then I watched the first episode and posted about it on Facebook, and then I had people pushing back on me, being like, Roseanne's awful, right? And I was like, well, I knew she was kind of loopy, but they were like, no, but like, have you seen this? And I felt really bad that me, as like a media consumer, media critic, kind of as I am, I was not aware of the extent of Roseanne's stuff.
Because you wouldn't think about it.
I knew she had some weird stuff. I kind of heard she was a Trump supporter.
Right.
But then I looked up some of the things she was doing, like a picture dressed as Hitler with a tray full of gingerbread Jewish people.
Oh my
God.
God.
I mean, like really terrible
What?
thing. Yeah, seriously.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she had like her baking Jewish gingerbread people dressed as Hitler, literally. Like and ABC thought, oh, that's fine, we'll give her a show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She dehumanized transgender people in her tweets and all kinds of just really, really awful things.
Like, that was okay, but the racist comment on Twitter was the straw.
So ABC says, okay, let's go ahead and hire her after all this stuff. And then she does one tweet, and don't get me wrong, that tweet was awful and she deserved to be fired for it. But she deserved to never have the show in the first place.
Right.
So that's what's frustrating to me. Is I wish I had realized that before I ever was like saying on this show, oh, I can't wait to do the Roseanne. And I feel kind of bad that I was so naive. So I actually like didn't watch after I watched the first 2 episodes that came out that night. I didn't watch the rest of them for a while. And then after she was fired from the show, and they decided to spin off of the Connors, I was like, okay, maybe I can watch it now.
Right.
But since it took place right after the season 10 revival, I had to go back and watch that show anyway.
Yeah.
And for this podcast, for nothing else. Right. And it was like almost impossible to find because they like scrubbed that season
took everything
from
off
everywhere.
Not only did they take off season 10 from Hulu, but they took off 1 through 9 from Hulu.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they completely got rid of it. There's no way.
Huh. Yeah, it's still available in some places like in Amazon and stuff, but season 10 it's gone.
Yeah.
So I had to really work hard to find that one to watch. So I have some notes on the rest of that season. Even though they claim it's season 10, it's the exact same show. I noticed in the credits there it says based on characters created by Roseanne Barr. So that's the kind of thing you put in spin-offs, like in Star Trek, all the different beyond TOS. It always says based on characters created by Gene Roddenberry, based on Star Trek by Gene Roddenberry, or whatever. So technically, it wasn't really the same. It wasn't season 10. Technically, it was a whole new show, also called Roseanne. I think that legally it must be, because otherwise they wouldn't have had that there.
Because I think most of the difference was the producers were different, so, and the writing staff was different, so it was almost a completely different show. It was just the fact that they were back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about how Roseanne changed. I always liked Roseanne the character in the original series, but I didn't really like Roseanne the character in the new season 10 compared to the original run.
No, not at all. Because she was different.
She was totally different.
Completely different.
They made... I never remember them ever praying in the original run, except for like when someone was like about to die. There's a few weird, awkward scenes where they were like, "Oh God, we don't talk a lot, but let's get this through." And they actually like made a point to being like non-religious. I mean, they made points of it when DJ was curious about going to church or whatever.
Yep.
They were like, "Oh, super awkward about it," and all of a sudden they sit down in the first episode and pray around the table like they always do this. And I was like, "What is this?"
Right.
I don't have a problem with people praying on TV at all.
Right.
But it's totally out of character.
Yeah.
Completely. I thought that was just so strange.
And I go back to a point that I was watching when they were making the show where what is her name? Darlene's character, or Darlene, I can't remember.
Sarah Gilbert.
Sarah Gilbert, there you go. She was talking about how she got Roseanne on board with the new season, basically Roseanne saying, okay, I'll do it, but I don't want to have to fight with the producers. I want it my way, and I want you to be the one that has to fight with them when I want things certain ways. So I wonder if that's a lot of that too, like just her change mentally from those years.
Just gave into it and let her do it.
Yeah, she just did whatever she wanted.
I thought it was interesting how Roseanne always had her hair done very nicely throughout the show. Like, they're struggling to get by, and there's no problem people getting their hair done, obviously, when they have low income, but it was like always done so nice. And Dan's wasn't. Like, he was always looked, like a guy that always came home from work.
Yep.
But Roseanne would be around the house all day, and her hair would be like perfectly done. It's like that wasn't always the case in the original show.
Right.
There's definitely a lot of great things. Jackie was being like prime Jackie. I she was, it was fun. Some of the character, the kids, was really great. Really reminded me of the old show a lot. Becky's, just even her facial expressions. I love watching her. She's like such a great face actress.
Yeah.
Her look, or like one eyebrow thing. I love it. So that was a lot of fun. Becky's decision to, sell her eggs or whatever it was, I thought it was funny. I thought it was in line with what she would do. Dan gave way too many fucks about it, and that was out of line. He was trying to control her, but it is what it is. I definitely laughed at like Dan having a flip phone.
Yes.
Remind me of my dad. He has a flip phone still. I just loved it. But Roseanne, like I keep saying, she was just like way over it. Like when she put Harris in that sink, she like, shoved her face down there. I was like, what the hell is this?
Right.
Like she is shoving her grandchild in the sink right now over something so stupid.
Right.
It was way out of line, and it was just
which
it was way
she
over the line.
Never did to her own children.
I mean, she would always threaten.
She would threaten.
Like, the kids would always be like, oh, mom's going to kill you. She's going to destroy you. But she, like, with one exception, and it was talked about, she never hit him. She never put a hand on him.
Never.
When she spanked DJ at the time for stealing a car, like, she felt really bad about it. She talked to him because it was their hit when they were kids.
It was devastating to her.
Yeah, the part of the whole storyline was that, like, her and Jackie were abused by their dad.
Right.
And she was never going to do that. And she's shoving her grandchild's face in the sink. Like, I was like, who is this?
Right.
This is not the Roseanne I love.
And that draws me to something else too, because I was thinking the whole time I was watching the show, like, I don't fundamentally believe whatever she believes, or agree with what she believes in. Mm-hmm. But the entire show was like, no, I'm right. You need to believe what I believe. Like, Jackie was always wrong and Roseanne was always right. So you're, as the viewer, you're supposed to sit there and say, oh, they're saying Roseanne's point of view is right no matter what you think.
Yeah, you talked about jobs, so you got to be a Trump supporter. No qualms with that. No conflictions or anything. Not a shred of. If I would have seen a shred of her being like, yeah, I support her, we talked about jobs, but, now I'm really disappointed with how things are going.
Right.
I would have been like, okay, that's a realistic, interpretation of Roseanne, maybe. But it was like, it was just...
It's the blatant disregard for what is actually happening in the country. And, okay, I'll just believe whatever you say. And I mean, fundamentally, again, that's the problem with the blue-collar workers, is that when they voted for him, that's what they thought. But... 2 years later, here we are.
And some of that's even a myth. Like the idea that blue-collar workers elected Trump, some of it's true, but it's not as true as people try to push. No. A lot of it was college-educated, upper-class white people that voted Trump in. It really was.
Yeah, it was.
They try to push that narrative of, the blue-collar workers switched from Obama to Trump, and some of that happened, but not nearly as much as people want you to think.
No. And the Electoral College is effed up.
Yeah. We could do a whole episode about presidential elections. I had a lot of notes on this. I loved seeing, in episodes like Darling v. David and No Country for Old Women. I like to think, because the gang's all here. Like, they brought in like a lot of the characters that I loved. Crystal and David, obviously, and all kinds of people. Who were their friends, a couple that contracted with Dan.
Oh,
he was in a lot of episodes. He's from Grey's Anatomy now.
Shoot, I can't remember.
But it was great seeing them all come back. It felt like a family homecoming. For someone like me who grew up with it. It was
except for all the racism.
Yeah. Yep. That's one of my notes on here. Literally says Roseanne is so racist. I think I wrote that during the Muslim neighbor episode. Yeah, the Go Cubs episode, I should say.
Go Cubs, yeah.
Oh gosh, and I get that she had to turn around at the end, and she that clerk was being even more racist and ridiculous, and she kind of had to turn around and support her, but like it shouldn't have took that much to get her there. That was frustrating.
And that's why I thought, like, I'm watching this episode thinking, am I learning a lesson or is she learning a lesson? I really couldn't figure it out. Like I already know that that's wrong, but for me to watch her go through it and then like, oh, they're being nice, they're letting us use this, and just because our granddaughter needs to talk to her mother overseas, it's like, who's learning the lesson? I don't understand. Did Roseanne realize her mistake and like, oh, maybe I should change? They never hit on it. It was just like literally, oh, can you be nice and do this while I'm being racist? And I'm still racist. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's seeped into other characters too, like that type of storyline and dialogue. Dan wasn't always the most feminist character in the world, but he definitely, you can tell he was always willing to learn and try.
Right.
Like I remember when there were some things about DJ asking about like gay people or whatever, and you can tell Dan was uncomfortable with it, but he definitely he was trying to not show it, and he was trying to like, even if he wasn't 100% there yet, he was definitely making sure DJ was getting a good reference. He was uncomfortable, but he was like, yep, some people do that, and it's okay. Even though you could tell he was a little uncomfortable. And that's, again, parallels with my dad. I know he came up in a different time, but he's learned so much. He's come a long way for that kind of thing.
Right.
Seeing that part when he asked, I think he asked DJ in this one too, adult DJ, do you want to talk about it? And he was like, no. And he was like, oh, good. I felt like a girl asking. I was like, what? Like, who wrote that line?
Right.
Was that a Sarah Gilbert line or was that a Roseanne Barr line?
Right.
So it definitely seeped into some of the other characters too, unfortunately.
Which, again, he always felt uncomfortable with that kind of speak, like really the conversation. But
absolutely.
But he never, even though he did not want to do it, like to beat the band, he just didn't want to do it. But he would do it.
Yeah, and it's been 20 years, and he's still working on that.
Still having trouble. Still having issues with. I mean, if we can hit on his grandchildren. What is his name? I can't remember. Mark being questioning transgender or whatever you would call it.
Well, no, he asked if he felt like a girl, and he said no.
Yeah.
And then in Connors, he said he was gay, finally.
Oh, he did say, okay.
He was effeminate and whatever.
Okay.
And season 10, and then Connors just said, oh, I like boys.
Okay.
And that was, I'll get on that later, but.
Right. Okay, so anyways, and, I mean, at first he wasn't comfortable with it. Obviously, he was very uncomfortable with it.
Like, he had line like, oh, I can't believe my grandson's painting his nails, or like, he had some weird...
Right. Which I get, again, because that's just how he is. He was different time. He, boys were boys and girls were girls, so that's fine. But as it progressed, he did start to say, okay, yes. And then he finally accepted it, and he was now he's more comfortable with it. Even though he won't help him paint his nails, he's okay with it, and he'll help him. And I thought that was great. Yeah.
And he definitely evolved that even... in the post Roseanne, you saw a big change, when he was talking about which boy he wanted to sit by in the bus. That conversation. You can tell he was uncomfortable with it, but it was because he's bad at talking about feelings with his kids. It wasn't because he was gay.
Right.
He made it really clear that he's like, oh, Roseanne was always better about talking about crushes than I was.
Right.
That's the only thing that he had a problem with. It wasn't about who he had a crush on. He was totally cool with that.
Right.
And that change, that completely different tone from season 10 to the Connors. When Roseanne Barr was gone, there was a huge change in tone.
Yes.
Anyway, a lot of the stuff still, outside of Roseanne, it was a lot of the same. I love the relationship between the daughters, Becky and Darlene.
Yeah.
I always loved the relationship,
I did too.
Back and forth, between friends and enemies and allies and whatever.
Yep.
And they had a good relationship. It felt really natural, really earned as far as like how these two would be as grown-ups now, getting along, bonding over...
Almost exactly the same.
Really. Yeah, it was great. It was wonderful.
Yeah, I guess I was kind of disappointed. I mean, Darlene's coming back because she was fired or laid off or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so that I get, but I was kind of disappointed to see that Becky really didn't go anywhere. She had all this ambition, she was, and she's not pregnant. She just didn't do anything she wanted to do, and I thought, oh, that's kind of sad. But that's par for the course, I guess, for the show.
Yeah, and it seemed natural. Like how many people just stayed in Lanford because they didn't have anything to do, and
right.
I mean, she kind of made that choice. She had a mission, sure, but then she made the choice to marry Mark and live in a trailer, and it's. I mean, if you map her trajectory from season 7 and 8, it seems actually kind of legitimate. Yeah, I felt natural to me.
It did. It made sense, but I was disappointed. I just like, oh, she could have done so much, and I guess that's how everyone feels.
Staying in your hometown. That's what you want to do.
I know, yeah, and I get it, but I don't know, I guess we'll see where the show goes, but I just always thought that even though she married Mark and they kind of never really got anywhere, I just thought that she could do something. Because last time we knew, she was going to a community college or something.
Good.
Okay, yeah, she was going to a community college, or she was going to enroll in a community college.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So I just thought, maybe there'd be something.
Yeah, and it's a big bummer about the actor who played Mark, that he died in real life.
Yeah.
It's too bad he couldn't come back because he obviously passed and said that. Let me be clear, it's sad that the actor passed.
Oh, yes.
It's sad for him and his real life family.
Yeah.
And it's also sad as a TV viewer that, we couldn't explore the relationship with him and Becky more because he's not there, he's not available anymore. But I thought it was good they confronted that head on and said, Mark died in the show too that way. And it gave Becky something else to overcome and to deal with.
Did they ever say how he died on the TV show? I can't remember.
Unless I'm forgetting, no.
I don't think they did.
No.
They never even, they hinted at it, he's dead. He passed away.
Yeah, they talked about it a few times. Yeah,
and that was it. That was just, they just never hinted on it.
And they used it as a way to talk about Roseanne's death and the Connors. Talked about, explained that's how, her alcoholism started and stuff. So it felt, naturally people die. It happens,
Yeah, it does.
So, I want to talk quick about the grandkids too. Harris, the actress that plays her, looks so much like Darlene. It's a great casting, and a lot like David too. It's a good mix between these two. I was really like, wow, that's the perfect casting. She looks like she's part of the family.
I hate to say this because the character, the girl that plays her, she's on Shameless too.
Okay.
And I've known her because she's on Shameless, and I hate her on Shameless. And so I've grown this weird hatred for her, even though she's not the same person.
That's funny.
I know, not hatred, but I just don't like her. I don't like her as a person on that show. So I just I don't like you. So I don't know why, but.
And then the other two grandkids, part of me was kind of, when I started watching the show, I was like, are they just trying to check boxes in diversity here?
Yeah.
They have one who's gay, one who's black, and I almost felt are they just forcing diversity? Because the show's obviously it's always been a white middle class family, and all the characters for the most part are white. There is diversity as far as there were some gay characters, and they had some black friends and everything, but it was never a pinnacle of racial diversity or anything.
Right.
So I was kind of like, are they just shoehorning in, having DJ marry a black woman, have a black daughter? One thing I thought that was interesting about that was that his wife, Gina, that's actually the same girl that he didn't want to kiss but then did kiss in the play. It's the same character.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
so
that.
I thought, Gina, is that the same name? I looked and it was. And then I checked, and in tweets, both Roseanne Barr and I can't think of his name, the actor that plays Fishman or Fisher?
Fishman, yeah.
Fishman that plays DJ confirmed. Yeah, it's the same character.
Wow, that's good.
Same last name and everything. So, again, a little shoehorned. But kind of a cool callback, his first kiss and he ended up marrying her or whatever.
Yeah.
So obviously it was a different actress that played the little girl, then different actress again in the Connors. They changed her again from the Skype video, the one scene she had. They finally landed on someone in the newest one. So anyway, I kind of had that trepidation. But overall, I think they're written pretty well. I was pretty okay with it. Obviously, it's still early. They don't have a ton of scenes yet, so we'll see how it goes. I'm also really curious to see, as far as that generation goes, if we're going to see anything else about Jerry Garcia, Connor. He was mentioned in the prayer. Watch over Jerry Garcia on a fishing boat in Alaska, or cell phones or whatever. Weird way they had to explain it. And then don't forget also Andy Harris, Jackie's son, who's about the same age as Jerry. Not once mentioned yet.
Nope.
So he's also at that age where he's probably out, gallivanting around the world. And I read somewhere that the writers wanted to explore that. They just didn't have the time, and they decided just to wait to even bring him in. So we'll see if the Connors gets to season 2, and it sounds like it's gonna. I was just looking today to see if there are any updates. It looks like just a couple weeks ago there's an article that said they're finalizing talks to get close to.
Which that would make a good episode, or a couple episodes, bringing back one or two of them. I guess there's a lot of characters they introduced, so it's kind of hard to do that. You don't want to overwhelm people.
Yeah, it's a lot, and obviously they were never major characters in the old series because they were just babies in the last couple of seasons.
Right.
But there's that sense of completion there.
Yeah, because they're their mothers. Are they not calling them and talking to them? Are they not conversing about that? My mother would constantly.
Yeah, well, apparently Jerry Garcia doesn't get cell phones on his boat.
Right.
I don't know what Andy's excuse is. Jerry's not as many scenes, so maybe she calls him when you don't see. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
I kind of want to hit on the diversity thing too, because again, it felt for me, it felt forced because Jackie is the progressive and Darlene is the progressive, and she's raising her children to be a progressive family. And again, we see Roseanne saying, well, no, Trump is the progressive person, obviously, because of the way he talks, and he just lets people know what he's thinking or whatever it is. And again, once again, we see her saying, you're wrong. He is accepting of people And so whatever you're thinking is wrong. It's just not the fact that you're raising your children the way you are, but you're raising them wrong. I felt. I don't know. It just all of her comments towards what Darlene was telling, like, no, he does it this way because of this reason, or she does it this way because of this reason, because I don't want to step on their growth or whatever it was. Do you remember that part? I can't remember exactly what they were talking about.
I'm not exactly sure what scene you're talking about. No.
Well, there was one where they were talking about, the way she was raising Mark, because he was identifying as as gay at that point, and they were talking about the way they were raising him and letting him raise the way that they want to.
Okay, yeah.
And Roseanne had a problem with that or something. And so they were discussing it. And again, it felt like because Darlene was making a mistake because Roseanne was pointing it out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So again, it came back to the whole, they're wrong because they're progressive, and she's right because she's a Republican and she's a conservative or whatever.
Yeah.
Which she never was. But again, it comes back to that. Like, what sense does that make? I felt. I don't know. I forgot to bring it up until we were talking about it. Because I just felt like I had to, that weird moment where you're like, wait a minute, what am I watching? This isn't Roseanne.
Yeah,
it's completely
exactly.
opposite.
Yep.
I'd have to go back and watch the exact comments they were making, but I think it was the same part where they were talking about painting nails, and Dan was saying, oh, he's a boy, he should be raised this way, and Darlene's like, I'm not stepping on their toes, let them do what they want to do, let them live how they want to live, and it's exactly opposite of what Trump's doing. So anyways,
yeah, I read someone pointing out, like, well, he never actually said what party they were in the original series. It's not like this one where Jackie's.
Oh, please.
But I was like, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
Like, there was a time a politician came to the door, and she, was, pushing back on him. And he didn't say he's Republican, but all the policies he was saying were clearly Republican policies. Yeah. And Roseanne, latched on to him. Oh, my son's wearing his older sister's hand-me-downs. I'm going to walk with you to the next door. And, grabs her coat and leaves. It's a great scene.
Lower taxes for business. Who's going to pay for those lower taxes?
Exactly. And then there's another scene I'm thinking of, too, where I think it was Darlene made a joke, it's not like he's a Republican, and Roseanne was like, So it wasn't like they kind of talked about, oh, we're Democrats in this house or anything, but it was clearly shown throughout the show that they were working class, blue collar and blue voters. They were Democrat voters, Democrat supporters throughout it. They just weren't banging over your head with it. Which again, I was a little frustrated with that. The extent of it. Again, the first episode was hard because it was why are they making such a big deal out of it?
It was emphasizing the divide, red versus blue. Mm-hmm. Everything had to be versus. They couldn't just be the normal dynamic of Roseanne and Jackie. It was they had to be against each other for some reason, and it felt forced.
Yeah, and it's funny to me that Jackie hadn't been coming around for a year, wherever they said it was, but she was right away doing her laundry there again. Yeah. Where was she doing her laundry for the last year?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, watching it gets so much use. Everyone uses it.
Yep.
The whole family that lives there, Becky uses it. Jackie uses it.
Yep.
Just
same everything. Yeah,
it's so funny.
Is it snowing outside? Because this must be Christmas.
Do you want to get into the Connors now? So
sure, yeah.
I know they obviously didn't plan on firing Roseanne Barr at the beginning of the season, or obviously.
Right.
But you would almost think they were, by how well they set the table for her death.
Yes.
It was she was clearly abusing her meds. They showed that, and then she was going in for surgery. They showed that in the last episode with her, and then it was I thought it was completely natural that she had died from an overdose post-surgery. Mm-hmm. It was that makes sense. That happens a lot, and they showed things leading up to it. It was eerily like they planned it. Mm-hmm. Very strange. And I watched a lot of people commenting on the Connors, read things saying they should have wrote off a different way, it was more dignified, or what have you. They should have had her die during surgery or something, but I thought it was, it's knee surgery. How many complications would be that you're going to die from it? The overdose afterwards, I think, is a lot more common, likely. And it was, again, like I said before, Roseanne, the show, has a history of tackling issues that are relevant to people and that are serious.
Yeah.
And the opioid addiction, situation in this country is really serious and it's really relevant to a lot of people.
Right.
So I thought it was great that they tackled it. I thought it was a very fitting way to remove her from the show.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It forced a conversation about it, and Dan's overreaction to the neighbor that gave her the pills and grappling with, addiction in other ways and relating it to Becky's alcoholism. I thought it was really done well. Like I said, they set it up so well. I couldn't believe they didn't. It was almost like they planned it.
Yeah. In my own family, that's what I'm saying. How many thousands of people are affected by this current issue? Yeah. My own family, 2 people, in one family are affected with that issue and are dealing with it. Yeah. So it is a very relevant topic and something that happens all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I would believe it. You wouldn't think that Roseanne would be the one to do that, but that's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
The person you don't think will be the one to do it will do it.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And then by the end of the first episode, I looked at my wife and was like, wow, a whole episode of no racist comments. It's like
Yeah.
a whole different show now.
It is.
And it really was a different tone.
Different
like
tone,
it
yeah.
was the whole, we binged through like in a matter of 2 days, 3 days, the whole, whatever, how many episodes it is of the Connors. And it was just like, right after watching the old ones, the season 10, I should say. And it was like, watching them back to back like that was really, you really saw the difference between them.
yeah.
The tone was
Yep.
very different. I thought it was much closer to the original show without her.
It is.
Which is kind of funny to say because she's obviously the main character,
Right.
the title character.
I feel like Darlene was stepping into the role of Roseanne very well. She was always the same. I feel like they had always the cocky comeback. And didn't really care what anyone thought, and that's just, I feel like that's how Darlene is. I feel like they made a couple changes I didn't like the whole Jackie having a boyfriend that kind of abused the relationship. They kind of turned Jackie into a clown. I felt like I felt like she did a lot of humor that really was that really what Jackie would do. I don't know.
Wacky Jackie.
Yeah, that's what I think. Like I think they had to compensate a little because there wasn't as much of that dynamic anymore.
Yeah.
But it was still overall, I thought, a very good show. Not very good, but it was good.
Speaking of Jackie's boyfriend, I thought Matthew Broderick, his voice in that show, it was the exact same voice used in The Producers.
Yes,
when
it
he
was.
talked, all I could hear was Bloom.
Absolutely. Yep. Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They're very sensitive. They're very, intelligent, but very skittish. Yeah.
So it made me want to trust him. So it was really disappointing when I couldn't.
It was with all the fish too. Like he always had fish. You're always eating fish. Do you remember that? Yeah. I thought he brought home like a massive fish or something.
Many different herring.
Many different herring. Yes, I know.
Also in the first episode of The Connors, when they transitioned into the spinning camera, it's kind of at the end of the episode. They did the intro kind of thing, but at the end. Yeah. And they like went from just like a scene to like into it. Mm-hmm. For some reason, it made me really uncomfortable.
Really?
Like as it started, I was like, "Oh, what's happening? Why are they doing this right now?" I don't know why, but like in the pit of my stomach, it just made me uncomfortable to see it. I can't explain it.
You don't have a spinning camera at your dinner table either?
But, speaking of that, though, what could have Dan possibly said to Harris to distract her long enough for him to switch their plates and, like, her not notice that?
That's true.
He, like, bumped her and pointed, and she looks.
Yeah.
And is, like, still looking. And he bumps her arm while he's switching the plates, and she's still looking.
And
so I'm like, what?
Yeah. And he, like, hit her a little bit. So, like, you wouldn't look down, like, wait a minute.
Exactly.
No, I mean, he bumped her to look, and then when he switched the plate, he hit her hand.
That's what I mean.
So I'm like, I would have felt that. I would look down like, okay, you're joking.
As I was switching, he bumped her, and you think she would have looked and smiled and made a joke out of it. She looks back totally like, what happened? And I'm like, come on. That was ridiculous. And then a little disappointing there wasn't a laugh at the end of the spin. The whole time I was spinning, I was like, is it gonna be Darlene that laughs? Is it gonna be Dan that laughs? Who's gonna do it? And then they didn't do it. Like,
because I felt like if they had kept, what was the point of the Connors? Was it to make distance, or was it to put her in, like, basically a memorandum, which I think they did not want to do. The whole point was to make distance from that, even though it's still the Connors, because otherwise we wouldn't watch it. They had to get rid of all the Roseanne stuff. They had to, not really relate to her a lot. The laugh's gone. She's gone. I felt. I
was waiting for it. So it didn't happen. I was really disappointed.
Yeah, and it probably would have made us feel a little more homely, like, oh, we're watching Roseanne again. But I just feel like they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to have anything to do with her, Yeah,
I mean, they talked about her a lot. I was like,
it wasn't like
after first episode they just stopped talking about Roseanne. They kept bringing it up and the grief and everything, which is real.
Yeah, it's real.
That's what happens when a parent dies and their spouse dies.
Yep.
They brought David back in a little more in the Connors, which I liked. I always liked David, the character. Yep. I was disappointed that I had to like him less because he made him like a bad father. I was like, oh, I have to like him less.
Yeah, I know.
But I was glad he came back. Him and Blue in a few episodes. So it was fun to see more of him. Even though I was like, super David, be a better dad.
Which again, and now they're saying, okay, is she going back to Chicago? And now that David or what's his name is done with the other show, the one nobody likes.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The one that's on, is it CBS? The Geeks, Big Bang Theory.
Oh, no one likes it.
No one likes it. I hate it so much.
I don't like it either.
I hate it so much.
A lot of people like it.
Oh, okay.
No one likes it. It's a very popular show.
Yeah, I know. Now that it's gone, now that it's done and the seasons are over, he has more time to come back maybe and be more.
But it is done anyways.
It was like the last season was this last one, so. Yeah.
I mean, it's popular enough to make a spin-off about a kid, which I think is strange.
Don't get me started on that. So I feel like maybe something's going to happen where he's going to come back, be a regular character. Yeah. She's going to decide not to go to Chicago and stay in Lanford, and,
Well, she has to stay in Lanford.
Oh,
that's a given.
I know, yeah. She's not going to leave, yeah.
It's just a matter of how how do they get there?
Yeah.
How is she gonna stay there? And
She has to be Roseanne. She is the Roseanne of the new show.
yeah,
So
I mean, it feels like she's clearly the lead actress now in it.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
obviously she's the producer.
Yep.
But John Goodman and Laurie Metcalf still get the lead billings, and top of the
Right.
credit they get the first two, and then her.
Right.
Which I get. They've been around the longest, and they were always the top ones. But I was kind of like, I feel like Sarah Gilbert could be the top one. Like she's
Now,
kind of
yeah.
she's kind of leading now.
Yeah, and it might take a season or two to see the dynamic. I mean, that's how I always feel about it. The first season of a show is not necessarily the greatest thing in the world. They have to find the groove, get the get the jokes right, and then we'll see how. And I feel like you said, Sarah is pulling into that position really well, making the jokes like Roseanne would, and next season might be even better.
I hope so. I'm looking forward to it for sure. Again, like you keep saying, it's a different tone. And I mentioned before how they were doing that random prayer like it was normal. But then back in this season, they're right back to the old presentation of the Connors being a religion where they're like really uncomfortable with it. Really back to how it always was. DJ, who interestingly was always the one who was the most interested in religion in that episode where he was really curious about what religion are we? Why don't we go to church? And he apparently grew up and he married someone who was religious, and now he goes sometimes at least. And he's kind of the one, and his daughter is the one that kind of forced him to go, not forced, but coaxed him to go into that service. Yeah. And they were all super comfortable, but supportive, and open-minded, like they always have been. That's what I always liked about them. Yeah. So that was really neat.
So, and something I always thought about too, what made me think that maybe Roseanne changed her mind was the fact that DJ joined the military. Like, you see it constantly because like my sister, biggest progressive person. I mean, she just was for everything progressive, and she marries someone that's in the Marine Corps. Complete switch of everything. She believes in America, flag on every post, and don't believe in America, you can get out. And I don't want to make it a big thing, but it is a difference. It's you're around those people, you change your mindset, like, oh no, we should support them. And maybe it's just growing older, I don't know, but I wonder if that's part of it. It's just the fact that I wouldn't think so, but maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. And I thought it was weird in the beginning in season 10 when they said DJ was in the military at all. Yeah, I was like, DJ in the army? Yeah, it didn't make sense to me when I first heard about that. Thinking about what I know from teenage DJ in the original run, into Star Wars and all this other stuff, and wanted to be a filmmaker. Like that's what he wanted to do. And all of a sudden he joins the army. Like I was like, oh, okay. So I thought that was strange to begin with. Yep. But yeah, I don't know if that was some sort of meta thing there where Roseanne got conservative because her son with the army.
I've seen it in my family.
Yeah, and it does get shown in media sometimes. I was really glad to see. I just finished watching the 3 seasons of One Day at a Time, the reboot of that on Netflix. And the main character was in the military. But the show itself is really progressive. They don't hide the fact that she was in the military. They're proud of being in that military family, and they're also proud of being progressive in a lot of ways. The Cuban, the daughter's lesbian, and all this other stuff. And they don't shy away from it at all. It's a very progressive show. They just announced that Netflix is canceling it, which is really upsetting. Oh, jeez. After 3 great seasons, I wish I'd heard about it sooner. I don't think they felt like they advertised it very well. Because some friend of ours posted on Facebook about season 3 coming out and recommended it. So my wife watched it and we were like, oh, this is a really great show. And then all of a sudden Netflix canceled it. It's a big bummer. But definitely recommend watching those 3 seasons. It's a great show. So anyway, it was good to see that kind of relationship that doesn't have to be the experience that you had with your sister. Obviously, that it can go either way.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. It obviously can. Yeah. But it's one of those things where you don't think about it until someone that you gave birth to goes through that or is going into that. Sure. Like you support it wholeheartedly because they're in it or something. You see it all the time. The bumper stickers on countless cars. They want to flaunt the fact that their child is in the military. Yeah. And not necessarily in a bad way, just to show that they're. Yeah. I mean, I get it. Do we have to have bumper stickers? Is that a thing? Can we go through that? Is that a whole show? Bumper stickers. I'm just. It's like my child is an honor roll. Why? Why do I care?
I don't know. It's not something I would do, so I don't know.
But that's the thing. You have children. You want to show the world that you have children and that they're great and you love them. But for someone that doesn't have children, I'm like, why are you doing that? I don't get it. You're ruining your car, you know. So
you don't
it's
need
just,
bumper stickers at all, do you? I don't care about bumper stickers. I guess I put political ones on there, and
it's not that I don't care about bumper. I mean, I don't care about bumper sticker really. I've thought about it many times putting a bumper sticker on my car for certain whatever.
yeah,
I'm
I'm surprised you
supporting.
don't have like a Empire logo. or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. Just something because I see the stormtroopers all the time, you know,
Yeah.
and my car's white, so why not? But I think it's just the fact that you're not that you're bragging, but it's just a different mindset. It's that you have children. Like right now, I could never see myself having children until I meet somebody that says, "Let's have children." And then you're like, yeah, I'm on board.
That's
you
all
know?
it takes for you.
No, that's not what I'm saying. But like, that's how a lot of people think. Like,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of men don't want to have children or never think about having children until they get married and their wife's like, I'm pregnant.
Huh.
And then they get used to the idea and then they like it and then they start bragging, you know, and on and on and on and on. And I just
don't
feel
know.
like
I
that's
kinda
the
like to have
domino.
kids, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Some people are like that. Some people are not though. You know, it's just a different mindset.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, that was 15 minutes.
What are we talking about?
I don't know. Let me look at my other page.
Couple other, since we're kind of in a random place, couple random notes here. Darlene's posture is really bad.
Yes.
She
I noticed
hunches
that.
over and has her shoulders forward all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't usually like to make fun of actors or actresses, make fun of characters, sure.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's just, maybe Sarah Gilbert has poor posture. I don't
Maybe.
want to make fun of her too bad for that. But I think she can make it a little better. For
Maybe
herself.
that's Darlene's posture.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, is that just Darlene's posture? She's always dark and brooding and hunched over. She kind of got that as a kid, being all brooding. I don't know. But man, it's noticeable.
It is, yeah, you're right.
Becky, how does she keep that job at the Mexican restaurant? Like, seriously?
Drinking constantly.
She's drunk all the time. She
Mm-hmm.
leaves work all the time. She's constantly hanging out with her family, just sitting down, not working. She's doesn't seem like a very reliable employee. Apparently, she sleeps with a lot of the staff there, which isn't a bad thing in itself.
why she
but it
does
does
it.
cause tension and problems with the way she's doing it. So it's yeah. I'm really surprised she keeps that job.
Yeah.
Really surprised by that.
But again, is it the whole Lanford thing? Like everybody knows everybody. It's a small town. She has the job because they like her or something. I don't know. You know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Do they like her? I don't know.
I don't know.
It was fun to, kind of on the restaurant, I guess. Made me think of it. It was fun when they went back to that Chinese restaurant. That was the lunchbox. It was like, oh,
yeah.
it's fun to see that set again. You know, that's a lot of some of the show was just nostalgia.
Yeah.
Like seeing it.
Hadn't changed an iota.
Yeah.
I remember like all the same paneling on the walls,
Yeah.
and you know it was the same island in the middle.
Which does happen a lot. Restaurants
Oh, yeah.
change hands. They just keep the
Yeah.
same motif.
It was just
going.
funny that it's a Chinese restaurant and it looks like an Italian restaurant, you know, because it was a pizzeria or whatever first.
Was
So,
it that what it
yeah,
was? Yeah.
uh-huh.
So it's going to be interesting to see as season 2 of the Connors. I heard it's going to be a couple more episodes, 13 episodes this time.
Oh, good.
Once they move past reintroducing this bit of nostalgia and that bit of
Right.
nostalgia, and they get past the we're mourning Roseanne still stuff, how they're going to handle the show being on its own 2 feet. So I'm really curious to see that.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, even though I was very skeptical to watch it in the beginning, just because of the fact that the star is gone. It was good. I found myself every week tuning into it and watching it and not thinking anything of it. I do have to say, though, I was just reading an article before we started this, and apparently Roseanne has a comedy special coming out, and it's titled "I'm Not Dead," and I thought that was very, very tongue-in-cheek. I'd like to. I don't know if I'll watch it or not, but I thought it was funny.
Yeah, she's been very vocal about the fact that she's not happy she's off that show.
Yeah, was it a Vice News? Did you watch that? I can't remember if it was Vice News on HBO or not, but there was a whole show dedicated to her in how what she's going through, what she's, what happened, and literally she is devastated.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I watched it, she was just devastated. She's like, I cannot believe there's something I helped create. They just basically said, you're dead, you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Which I get. You did something wrong, and she feels bad about it. That's the thing.
It sucks. It'd be hard, but
Yeah.
gosh, there are consequences to dressing
Right.
like Hitler. Like,
Right.
and there are consequences to comparing a black person to apes or whatever that treat was. Like,
Yeah.
well, you made your bed, Roseanne. Lay at it.
Yeah.
So,
The former advisor to Barack Obama.
Yeah.
That was
VJ, or she called her, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sad. Yeah, I'd be
Yeah.
sad too. But gosh, like,
Yeah. But it's
consequences there.
again, she goes off the rails, says something she's not supposed to say,
Yeah.
and then there are consequences. But normally she's like, okay, well, I sang bad at the national anthem, big deal, I get past it. But this time she legitimately feels bad about it, and she's like sulking and not near her family. She used to live in Hawaii. I think she still does, but she like came back to the States or something. And she's living in an apartment or something like that, like a nice apartment, obviously. But
I read all that.
I was watching the whole show on Vice, and it was very interesting to watch. But it was complete difference, in her mentality and her mannerisms, basically, just because she was so distraught.
Well, you mentioned the national anthem, and that reminds me, it's not the first time she's lost a show because of something she did.
Yeah.
After she sang the national anthem very poorly on purpose and took offense to it, she had a children's cartoon that was on for like 3 episodes called Rosie or something.
Oh, really?
And it was canceled right after she sang that. And they never said that was why, but she always, in interviews, would say that was why it happened.
Yeah.
So, didn't learn that mistake, I guess, though.
Yeah. I get...
And could you imagine her now as Trump supporter?
Oh, God.
Seeing someone sing the national anthem like she did, intentionally bad?
Yeah.
She'd be so mad at that person the way she is now. And so it's just the level of hypocrisy there is just really stunning. That she used to be so, one way in the show and then be a totally different person.
Because the whole point, of being a comedian is you say what you want to say, even if it's in satire, and it's okay to say it because it's of freedom of speech. And that's how it should be. But now it's, if you say one thing against one person or whatever, especially for her, because if you're against Trump, you're against this country. I don't get that. That's not how it works. You have the right to say what you want to say and not be condemned for it, and that's fine. But if there are people you're working with and you have a contract with them and you say something really stupid and out of color, then you should be punished for it. Because to me, there's a joke and then there's blatant racism.
Yeah.
She was not making a joke. It was literally comparing someone to an ape that is also a black person. So, where was the thinking in that?
What happened?
Becky cut the cheese.
Let's do one of our segments. Let's do ratings then and now.
Now.
I looked up the Rotten Tomatoes scores for the original run of Roseanne, and I guess because of how old it is, some of the seasons don't have a rating at all.
Oh.
Some do. There's no critical consensus, but there's a tomato meter score and an audience score though still, and most of them roll around about 80% for the tomato meter.
Yeah.
And then the audience for the critical score, and then the audience score is usually a little lower, but pretty close depending on the season. It varies, especially the audience score.
I would say that's right where I think it would be. 80%.
Up until the 9th season, that's the funny one, where it's all of a sudden it plummets to 20%.
Oh, yeah.
So then, as far as the revival season goes, it actually got pretty high at 70%, and an audience score right around 69, really close to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you go into the Connors, the tomato meter score is even higher at 92%.
Oh.
Critics loved it.
Yeah.
But the audience score plummeted down to 38%. So, and I wonder if a lot of that's probably a convergence of people from different sides not liking it for different reasons.
So
you have people that were big, Roseanne and Trump supporters putting bad reviews on there because they don't like the show because after she was, she was kicked off.
Why would you kick her off for saying that?
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
And then on the flip side, you have people that were, more liberal or progressive who are ticked off at what she said. Even though she's gone, they still wanted to hate the show now. Right. So, they dinged it for that, I think. I don't know.
I'm sure.
That's really low compared to the critical score.
How can it be a Roseanne show without Roseanne?
Yeah.
I think is the,
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
And I thought it was good overall. It looks like the critics agree. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I thought it'd be high, but I didn't think it'd be that high. 92% is really high for a TV show.
I would watch it more and actually watch it every time it comes on every week.
Yeah.
More than I would watch Big Bang Theory. What does that say?
No, I never liked it. I watched when it first came out years ago. How many seasons is it? 11 or something?
9, I think.
So I remember when it first came out. I tried watching it. Oh, show about geeks. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is me. But it felt like all the jokes were about geeks.
Yes.
It felt like it was, and maybe I've heard it got better as shown on. I've heard it's more geek friendly. Okay, sure.
Okay.
But my first impression of it was the joke was on the nerds.
Right.
It was
they're making fun of the geek.
Yes.
Yes.
And I was instantly turned off.
I was too.
And I haven't watched it
I was
since.
too.
I've watched a few scenes here and there, but never.
You don't know how many times someone's come up to me that I've just met and said, "Oh my God, you remind me so much of Sheldon."
Really?
That's a bad thing.
That's not a compliment.
That's not a compliment. I get they like it because it's funny, but no, they're making fun of that person, not it being a fun show.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we're getting on a rail here, but Can we do a show about Big Bang? No.
Without even watching it.
Yeah. I hate every minute of it. No, and I don't know. I hated it.
Yeah, and I tried watching some of it other times, and again, I've heard this has been fixed, but I was disappointed with the representation of women in the show.
Yeah.
You know, it just...
Again, they would only they're geeks, make fun of them for being geeks, and they would only date or marry someone that's a geek, and they're even more of a geek than that person is.
Well, originally there was the women in the show were not
The neighbor.
geeks. Yeah, they were like seen as like ditzy or like not as smart, and then later they did a better job about bringing in some more like female nerds too.
They did
onto it,
but they were very socially awkward. I felt.
I guess
Again, another yeah.
I don't know. At that point, I just stopped watching it.
Yeah,
so I can't really comment on it at that point.
Yeah.
But I know I was really turned off to it in the first season. Just haven't really got back to it.
Yep.
Probably the supposed target demo, and I just wasn't interested at all.
And that's like 20 minutes. It'll be deleted.
I'll trim it.
Yeah.
Looking at some news recently, I wanted to say this for a few different reasons. It's actually pretty relevant. So in the last episode, the Batman episode, I mentioned that James Gunn is going to be the new director of the next Suicide Squad, and I refer to him as the disgraced former director of Guardians of the Galaxy because some very offensive tweets he made. But in the last week, news broke that he was rehired by Disney to do Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Oh my gosh.
So I just want to do an update about that.
Yeah.
And it's even more relevant, I think, because Disney, owns Marvel and it also owns ABC. So part of me was kind of thinking like, what if Disney decided to rehire Roseanne Barr?
Oh, okay.
and somehow bring her back as a ghost.
I was going to say, she comes back as a Force ghost.
I mean, like, Dan was dead, he came back. Why can't Roseanne back?
I thought you were dead.
Yeah, like, now he's back. Okay, well, I think I'm bringing Roseanne back as a writer. So, also in my travels around YouTube, I wanted to do a shout out to Notorious BTG, the baritone trans girl who makes YouTube videos. And she has this one about this conception theory about who the real father of Harris is.
Oh gosh.
And it's really fun. It's actually pretty thought-provoking. Like, it's probably not real, but it's like one of those conspiracy theories that actually has some legs, I feel like.
Okay.
Remember the episode when they went to Disney?
Yes.
Which, on a sidebar, after Disney bought ABC, they actually forced all the shows to go to Disneyland, Disney World.
Okay.
That's why so many shows in that era were going there.
That makes
like
so much
Boy
sense.
Meets World and those other
Yeah.
ones. That was a lie. I found out recently. So anyway, the Connors went to Disney World for some reason. It didn't make sense for them, but they went. And you remember in the episode, Darlene was like really smitten with
Winnie the Pooh.
and they made a big deal of her being all like, oh, I'm so happy. And then they even, like, at the end, she was like, oh, here's my number. Call me so it's not like a one-time thing. And it kind of, if you look at it in a certain lens, almost implying they had a one-night stand.
Yeah.
Maybe. Probably not, but it could have happened. And then in the next episode, or maybe a couple episodes later, she said to David, I'm pregnant. And he was like, oh, did it happen at Disney World? And she was like, yeah, that it was a Magical Kingdom. So she admitted that it happened at Disney World.
Oh my gosh.
So who's the father of Harris?
Right.
And I thought that was really interesting.
That is interesting, yeah.
Big shout out to Notorious BTG for that one. That was a fun theory. And she has a couple other good videos on there that examine different shows and stuff. So I just wanted to touch on that.
It's very thought provoking because I'm like, the whole show is a lie.
All right, well, let's get into our next segment then, the airing of grievances.
I got a lot of problems with you people.
You gotta hear about it. No. Should I go first? I don't know if I should.
I can go. So, this always happens when we get the airing of grievances. We always talk about it.
Because we've already talked about all the problems, so.
I know. But as far as biggest thing is the change of tone in season 10 to be more conservative and to make Roseanne especially, but in other ways, the whole family, different characters, different, more conservative characters. And again, like on TV, most characters tend to be pretty progressive just because it comes out of Hollywood. I get it. It's good to show a balance. But when you change the characters themselves without explaining why they changed, that is the problem for me.
Right.
It's not so much that there are conservatives on the show. It's that the characters went from being one way to another way without any explanation.
Right.
It didn't feel real.
I honestly think that it would have made more sense if they had switched the roles and Roseanne were the progressive and Jackie were the more conservative. Like, even though that's not necessarily, again, her motif or whatever, what do you want to say,
But couldn't
it
you
would have
imagine?
made more sense.
Couldn't you imagine Jackie though getting swept up in something and going
Yeah.
off the rails? She's
Yes.
so wacky. And,
Absolutely.
She's more. I feel like if anyone's more likely to join a cult, it's probably Jackie.
Right.
So I can see her like, not that Trumpism is a cult, for sorry.
Right.
But I can see her getting swept up in the moment of
Trumpism,
it,
yeah,
and just like going all in.
Right.
But then that would have been a way better opportunity for her to be like, oh my god, what did I do?
Right.
And like come back around, and I think that would have been, that's a good idea.
I think a lot of that it goes down to who was in charge of the show.
Yeah.
Just because Roseanne was out for ball and she was for a Trump, that's why it happened that way. If it were any other writer or anyone else were in charge of that show, it probably would have been the reverse. Just because it makes more sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, I completely 100% that was my airing of grievance, if you will. The change in tone.
Yep.
Literally,
Tone,
like
character.
even though you could go season by season and go over everything that you thought was wrong with the show, that is the biggest change, and that is the worst part of the change, I guess.
Yeah.
So
What about for the Connors? What kind of grievances do you have there?
for me, I feel like it's a lot of forced comedy. It's still good. Don't get me wrong. I still laughed at parts of it, but again, it's going to that whole. And I keep going back to Big Bang Theory, but the shows that are coming out now, the sitcoms, every joke they do feels forced. It feels like there's a laugh track behind it. I know in this one that's not, and not necessarily is it for Big Bang Theory, but it's not a natural laugh. It's not, oh, it's funny for this reason. It's literally every little thing they say, they laugh.
Yeah.
And I hate that. Seinfeld, it was very natural. They did something that was hilarious, physical or whatever, even Kramer, but it was funny and you laughed at it. But now it's like, it feels like it's very forced. I don't know. And I don't know if it's just the way that the sitcom is filmed or because...
Well, we do know that Roseanne and the Connors are filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Yeah.
Every time.
So, yeah. But is someone like standing there going, laugh, pushing a button and there's a sign going up and, laugh.
I don't know.
Because... I don't know.
You felt like it was too much forced laughter?
Some of it was a little bit too much. Like everything that someone said was funny, and it's not necessarily the case.
Yeah. It's kind of, you see a lot in those older, like, 80s shows sometimes. And they'll say, like, one word, and all of a sudden, ha 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 ha.
Oh my God,
like
that's
canned
so
laughter,
funny.
every
Yeah.
single thing. It sounds like a trope,
Right. But again, coming back to Seinfeld or any other Frasier for that matter, or Will and Grace or anything like that, it was funny because it was funny.
Yeah.
And I laughed in a natural way. I looked at it, legitimately laughed, and then thought, oh my God, But this was just like, I'm sitting there watching it, getting the joke, but not like, oh my God, that's so funny.
Like a smirk, then his belly laugh.
Right. It's not an LOL. It's a internal laugh.
Probably my biggest grievance from the Connors was Jackie and her character. Her relationship with whatever his name was, Matthew Broderick.
Broderick, yeah.
I didn't love it, and she seemed to change even more.
Yeah.
And as far as, I said before, outside the first episode of Roseanne and some of that of season 10, they weren't really pushing the politics stuff, but Jackie was the only one that was still, like, I seen when she was with Mark and doing the survey, and she was like, boy, 2020. It was like, I get that she's wacky, but like, it was like, come on, like,
right.
You
It gets worse
you don't
and
have to,
worse.
force it,
Right.
Yeah, like you said before, she's a clown.
She's a clown, yeah.
It's kind of...
It's not like it's a huge, like she's dancing around with a rubber nose or whatever, but it's the fact that anything she does now is wacky. She can't have a serious moment, I feel.
Yeah.
It's always whatever the next thing is, let's go to it and let's do it so hard that, it's not funny anymore.
Right.
And the same thing with her mother. Like, I get we all have bad relationships sometimes with
Bev.
our mother. Bev, yeah. But where is she?
Yeah.
Did she die? I don't think she did.
No,
she's just not there.
she's in it. What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
In the Connors? Like
Yeah.
once, right?
Yeah.
That's the only time we ever see her. And then every other time she's just mentioned. But the dynamic between Jackie and her mother was good.
Yeah.
It was a funny situation, and where is it? So that's lacking. And then the whole Matthew Broderick thing. Matthew Broderick's a good actor, but I don't think he's good for that show. I'm glad he's gone. I hate to say that, but
It wasn't a good character.
not really.
Well, the thing is, because we found out pretty early on that he was scamming her.
Yes.
That scene when he was talking to Dan at the restaurant.
Yep.
And he was like, he said something really snarky, and he was obviously had malintent at that point.
Yeah.
But then it took Jackie so much longer to figure it out.
Right.
That like, if he would have been it was like, why couldn't she get that?
Yeah.
Why did it take for her finding a woman's bra or whatever it was to know he was cheating?
Yeah.
To know. I wish he would have been shown to be really good with her, so we could believe that he was a good person.
Right.
So we could see why she believed it.
Right.
It seemed really
because
forced.
anyone could see that he was
Everyone saw it.
not. Yeah. But that's a Jackieism too, though. Like from all the other episodes, you know, even though what's his name hit her, Fisher, she still stayed with them until Roseanne stepped in.
I guess, but I think she would have learned from that, though.
You would think, but
Character growth.
But there's a lot of people out there that are in abusive relationships. Like, oh no, it was my fault. You know, you know. So I feel like I get what you're saying, but I feel like that's also something we've dealt with for how many years.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you're right. She was definitely a clown. And where was the series? Like, I'm a cop. You know, she was a cop. She was a truck driver. What does she do now? I forget.
Life coach.
That's right. She's a life coach. Yeah.
She only mentions it about 1 million times.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. Yeah.
Lamford's leading life coach.
The only life coach. No, there's two.
There's another one that she hates.
Yeah.
And Becky went to and she put it on a website.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, I mean, again, what kind of a wacky situation is it that she's a life coach? You know, I don't know. It's just everything she does is stupid now. So
I wish you would give me some support.
Yeah, well, I remembered a few other things I wanted to get on now that we're out of grievances. Speaking of Jackie and Bev, actually first, I thought there was a scene where she said, "Oh, I grew up during the Depression," and I was like, how old is Bev that she grew up during the Depression?
Yeah.
So I looked it up, and the actress really is that old.
Really?
She's like 93 years old.
Oh my gosh.
And she was like young, she was a kid, but she really did grow up during the Depression.
Wow.
So I thought like, oh, that's a joke, but no, like it's real.
Wow.
But so that was kind of surprising to me. I didn't realize the actress that played Bev was that old.
I didn't either, yeah. Which makes me think that's why she may not be in the show. Maybe she's having issues or something.
Yeah, she could be. I mean, she's been in some other shows recently. She was in a couple episodes of Grace and Frankie, for example, but that was a few years ago too, I guess.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I don't know how she is now. She definitely wasn't there more in the beginning. They kind of left. You're right. There's a one scene where Jackie said to Dan, like, "Oh, aren't you just the King of England?" And all I could think of was that movie he was in,
King Ralph.
King Ralph. Yeah, I was like, is that intentional reference? It had to have been. Or was they just saying it? I don't know. And one of the things you reminded me about Jackie too, talking about her more, was, you know, there's an episode in the original series, at least one, where they kind of talked about the idea of when they were young, Dan and Jackie were kind of flirting. Maybe they could have been something together. Obviously, then he got with Roseanne, so they couldn't. Yeah. And he was even kind of wistfully like, I wonder what could have happened. So I almost kind of wonder if they're gonna. I think they won't because it's a show.
Yeah,
but like
weird.
In my head, like in real life, if it were real, I guess, would there be a possibility of Dan and Jackie getting together now that Roseanne's dead and they can care of each other in their old age? He always says he hates her, but obviously, you know, he loves her.
Yeah.
So
he does anything for her.
Yeah,
really.
Obviously, it's always more of a brotherly love. I get that, but because of the episode they mentioned it, and he was kind of like, "Oh, what could have happened?" Right. And it made me wonder, like, "Oh, that'd be a fun thing to explore." I don't think they will, though. And
it makes sense because that to me would be perfect because she would move in with them, and then again it'd be a full house, and like it always is, and you know.
Full House. That's a different show.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, she's in trouble. Oh.
Yeah, I saw a news article that they removed her from Fuller House, and I was like, they're still making Fuller House?
I didn't know either. Yeah.
I didn't know.
Oh my god! Don't tell me we have to do that reboot.
No, we're not.
Oh god, thank you.
I don't want to watch it.
No,
that's the thing.
I watched it as a kid and I just didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, as a kid I remember liking Full House, but I tried watching it now and it's really bad. And I tried watching a couple episodes of Fuller House when it first came out and it was really bad. And I assumed maybe the last couple seasons it was done, but they're still making episodes. Yeah. Apparently people like it. Other stray thoughts?
I do remember... Oh, this is going way back when the Roseanne season 10 was coming out. I had this weird hit of nostalgia when I first started watching it, before I knew what the show was. And it was like this weird coming home feeling, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I was like, oh my god, this feels so weird. You know, I was just ready for it. We've been waiting so long to watch it. And then it came out and I'm like, man, I feel like I'm 10 years old, sitting at home on a Sunday night, you know, watching Roseanne and getting ready for it and hating the fact that I had to go to school the next day. You know, I just, it was such a weird feeling. I liked it.
Let's go into our final segment here. Twitter check.
Twitter check. Sega.
Twitter check.
Oh my god.
I'm looking at the Connors official page at the Connors ABC, and it's pretty inactive actually. The last tweet was in February. And
Makes sense.
It's between seasons, so
Yeah.
let's do a quick look. Let's see what Roseanne Barr's up to on Twitter, just for fun. Does she still have a Twitter? Or did her kids take away from her?
I
For a
don't
while
know.
there, when she first started season 10, I remember her kids took her
Yeah.
Twitter away from her.
Yeah.
Kind of like they did with Trump during the last season of the campaign. They staffed her Twitter away from
Yeah.
her. No, she's back on. So let's see. What's she tweeting lately? I have an interview. It's awesome. New video up. She's doing something, promoting it. Doing her own thing. Check it out. Oh, a selfie where she's like making kissy face. No joke.
See, the only thing because I'm looking at the USA Today, and it says even Fox News. It says she describes the new Connor show as ABC's effing low-rated network show for firing her or something like that. So maybe they took their tweet away, but she's still commenting on it or something. I don't know.
No, she still has her Twitter. For a
Okay.
while there, when she first started the season 10, her kids took her Twitter away from her.
Oh, I see.
To try to keep scandals from happening, but she got it back, and then it happened. Let's try hashtag Roseanne. See if there's any tweets tweeting about the old show for some reason. Good WAPO piece on hashtag Roseanne. Unfortunately, writer Jeff Edgers seems to accept Barr's twisted commitment to hashtag Judaism as authentic.
I wouldn't doubt it either.
Oh, it's not even. I thought it was linked to the Washington Post article, but it's not. It's linked to some other.
You better watch it.
Roseanne
You can only look
Barr.
at so many of those a year, right?
Roseanne Barr, Nazi leaders, Hitler, Goebbels, and Himmler were Jewish. That's
Oh my
what
gosh.
Roseanne said, apparently, that Nazi leaders were Jewish. Decider posted 33 minutes ago. Quote, she destroyed the show and my life. Roseanne Barr is lashing out at Sarah Gilbert for the cancellation of hashtag Roseanne. Apparently, this is posted today, so apparently she's still talking about that. Still mad at Sarah Gilbert.
Which I don't get. She made the comment.
What? So many people are still defending her. This is one day ago. Hashtag said Sia. I'm sorry, but hashtag Roseanne is not disgraced. You are. She is paying the price for dignity and fighting against the corporate authoritarian machine that includes you and your sisters in the media. Replying to Huffington Post.
I don't even know where to begin with that one.
I know. You support Donald Trump, who literally is a corporate billionaire.
Yeah.
But he's the one fighting the corporate authoritarian machine.
Drain the
Okay,
swamp.
yeah. He's the fascist businessman. Oh my god.
I just don't get. I still can't get that.
I don't get it. Why people support this?
Like, I get it if you think he's a good president. Like, if you think he would make a good president, fine. But if you're directly negating things that you say in a sentence, I don't get that.
Here's the opposite here. This is at Ilmeat, Ilmeeyat. Hashtag Roseanne has only herself to blame for getting fired. Again, why does the media pass her nonsense along? Just ignore her and she'll go away. She would know genius all right. A couple emojis, 3 of them actually. She's definitely off her meds and totally delusional. And then a picture of Obi-Wan Kenobi from Star Wars, the first one. I've not seen in a long time. Best quote, I think, though.
Oh my god.
Let's see. At Blue Fox 94, different situation, sure. Yeah, at Disney fell for both of them despite having success via both if they were simply done nothing or given at the real Roseanne, whom they hired in spite of controversial politics mixed into her show. A slap on the wrist.
I guess that I could agree with that too. Like, they knew she was controversial and they did it anyways. But again, who would think that someone would make such a blatant racist comment? I guess people do it all the time, but why would you think it's okay to be? I don't know. It's just a stupid situation.
At 5 or 6 times, said 6 days ago, I think hashtag Roseanne's family should consider having her brain checked. Maybe something is legitimately wrong with her.
That's probably that mirrors Trump too. Like, maybe we should get him checked.
Yeah. Well, Trump's a very stable genius.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I
He was
forgot.
checked by a doctor.
I forgot. Yeah,
A real doctor.
200. He's 200 pounds or something like that.
Basically, all the hashtag Roseanne things are just like, she's right, she's great, or she's awful, ABC is right. It's kind of what it boils down to. See, hashtag the Connors. See some reactions. I was hoping to get reactions to the show, but we're just getting reactions to Roseanne Barr herself.
Of course.
So let's see. Hollywood Reporter hashtag THR said just today, ABC's hashtag the Connors renewal more likely as stars near deals to return. So I mean, apparently it's even more likely now. It's getting closer and closer to getting that deal hammered out. That's just from today, so that's cool.
Which is good. I mean,
Deadline Hollywood, Twitter, same thing. A lot of these are about the new deal coming on. And you get to some older ones. It skips back, I guess, here. Sarah Gilbert tweeted, don't miss hashtag the Connors emotional season finale tonight. So that's an old one.
yeah. So it's been a while.
Yeah, so not a lot of tweets about it until just recently about renewing for the second season. So hopefully it's coming pretty soon. We'll get more information about the second season soon.
Yeah.
We'll be able to watch that, see how it goes from there.
And I cannot wait. I just can't wait.
I feel like you're just
No.
being sarcastic.
No.
Gosh, is that it?
I think that's it.
Any final thoughts you want to offer as we're looking back on we at total of 11 seasons of Connors now?
All I can say is think before you tweet. That's all I'm gonna say.
Those are words to live by. You know, in today's social media connected world where everything you say lives on forever.
Yep.
Think before you tweet.
There's no way to take it back.
My final thoughts on it really is, it's such a great history. I know I keep saying it, but I just loved the show. I always have a place in my heart for the original run of Roseanne.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that the second season does well and they keep going and it's good. And it's like a nice epilogue kind of thing. Or even like a sequel kind of thing where I just really enjoy it. Hopefully, it's not just like Arrested Development where I wanted a reboot and they got it and just kind of... I'm not most people that say I hated it. I definitely liked the reboots. Season 4 and stuff, and I just finished watching season 5 of Arrested Development, and this time, as opposed to the season 4, they ended it with completion and they tied everything up. So it was like, okay, I think this is really at this time.
Okay.
So it was satisfying to see the ending like that, and I hope there's some good satisfying ending whenever they decide to end. It's not just a cancellation. I hope they really decide to end Connors in a good way. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I am too, and I hope the best for them, and I hope that they bring many years of joy to us, and it's something that we look forward to, every week.
Yeah, we'll always have at least 8 seasons of the good show to
exactly to fall asleep to.
I remember watching that in the dorms together, me and you.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the Wii was going to be released.
Yep.
We were just going to go out and get it at midnight, and I had to go at 6 a.m. because I couldn't find it at midnight. It was all sold out, I think, at my end. So we went to Best Buy at 6 a.m. So we were staying up.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
We were going to stay up until 5 to go out there and get in line, and we did. And we watched Roseanne to stay awake. Oh, good times.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Well, let's do the outro.
So I'm Nathan Grayjack. You can find me on Twitter at Grayjack, Grajek. You can search for me and the show on YouTube, Nathan Grayjack. I have a playlist called Revival Survival. And on Twitter, the podcast is also under at Revival_podcast.
And I'm Eric Zajac, and I have nothing.
Yep. You don't insist.
I like to be a hermit.
Check the video. You can download the MP3 through the link on the video on YouTube. As always, we encourage you to share with your friends. Like and subscribe.
Hey, what's up, guys? Like and subscribe.
And enjoy it.
Yeah.
Let us know what you want to see. We're thinking about doing Aladdin and maybe some other ones. So
Aladdin, a lot of good things coming up. Aladdin, Lion King.
Yeah.
I am excited about those things to see. And I think they'll be fun to comment on.
Yeah. If this video doesn't get more than a few views, then I'm not going to do it anymore. So you better watch it. It takes me days to edit these. Okay, it takes me a long time.
Yeah,
weeks sometimes between doing other things, editing these audios, and then making the slideshow video to put on YouTube.
Yeah, that's true.
It is very time consuming.
It's a love-hate relationship. Yeah.
I love doing it, but it is a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
When
You're
only
right.
5 people listen. I'll cut this out. It's too depressing.
Okay.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening.
Yeah, have a good day.
Episode of
Bye.
Revival Survival.
I don't know what to do.
Cut most of this out.
Dum dum dum. No, okay. Did I do that? I don't know.
Ready?
I mean, yeah, we're here for that. I guess.
Today we are doing a episode. Today's episode. Sorry. Just do it.
I had the wrong one in order. Sorry. I'm trying to think of something I hate. Oh, did you notice my mug? Oh, it looks like Millennium Falcon. Can we get a laugh track? Oh, I heard a dog. Did you hear a dog?
Yep.
Oh. How can I hear that through this floor? Rough.
I didn't even take care of this problem.
No kidding.
So let's go on to...
Sorry, wait a minute. I had to laugh at that. Okay, now I'm thinking of a lane. Shut up!
Goofy. I think it was Goofy.
Oh yeah.
I'll say Bolton.
I think it was Goofy.
It was a Donald Duck. She was really smart with Donald Duck.
Okay.
I'll delete
Yeah,
which one's wrong.
Okay. Keep going.
Okay. So
Yeah. I don't know. It's just.
you know, I don't know. I was
What's the name of that show? I can't remember. I don't know.
Was, you know, in the
you know,
unfortunate.
kill me now.
Dead air. Dead air.
Dead air is good. We're getting tone. Thank you. Now, can I get a bumper sticker?
Wrap this thing up so we can eat.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And that's all we have for Revival Survival, or is it just Revival Survival Season 1? Who knows? Until or unless we meet again, keep enjoying all this recycled content they keep shoving at us in our post-original content world. And thank you so much for listening.